Hello, mic testing. Hello, hello, hello.
I request you all to kindly take your seats, please. May I request you all to kindly take your seats, please? May I invite Dr. Bajar Barua, please, to kindly welcome the gathering.
Very good afternoon to all of you, and welcome to the Foundation Day of the Academy 2023 Foundation. It is our esteemed chief guest of this afternoon, Professor Ramesh Chandji, the Honorable Member Niti Aayog, Honorable Sri B.V.R. Subramaniamji, the CEO Niti Aayog, our very own President of the Academy, Secretary there, DGIC, Dr. Himanshu Pathakji, my distinguished colleagues from the Academy on the dais, of the dais, our distinguished fellows, and also those who are joining online, press and media, ladies and gentlemen. Sir, well, as you know, the Academy is indeed very, very grateful to Professor Ramesh Chandji for kindly accepting our invitation to come as the chief guest today and share some of his important thoughts. So I, on behalf of the Academy and all of you, very heartily welcome Professor Ramesh Chandji as the chief guest to our Foundation Day lecture event. Dr. Ramesh Chandji has been a person from ICR who he also happened to be my colleague. We happened to be colleagues together when he was working in ICR. I welcome you, sir. At the same rate, I welcome Sri Subramaniam ji, the distinguished CEO Niti Aayog, who has somehow managed to come till yesterday, day before, I think. He had a lot of program, but finally, because of his love and attachment to the ICR fraternity, he is here, and we are so very grateful that he would be delivering the Foundation Day lecture this time. We will look forward to that, sir. I welcome on behalf of the Academy again on behalf of the President himself, President Dr. Himanshu Pathakji, who has been guiding from the front. We have heard his insight in the morning as to how the Academy should be laid forward. I welcome you, sir. I welcome the Vice President, Dr. A.K. Singh, who has been serving this Academy relentlessly for almost last 6 years. I welcome you, Dr. Singh, Dr. Banshalji, who is here very active, both our secretaries, Dr. Lakra and Dr. Banshal. I welcome you to this Foundation Day lecture ceremony. We have in front of us our very, very honored and distinguished past presidents, very senior stalwarts like Dr. R.B. Singh, Professor R.B. Singh, our Dr. Punjab Singh Sahab, Dr. Mahapatra Sahab. They have actually led this Academy from the front, and there are so many other stalwarts and guiding forces behind the Academy. I cannot name them all because it will take a lot of time, but I must take few names. I think Dr. C.D. Mai Sahab is here, Dr. Puri Sahab is here, Dr. Madan Sahab is here, Dr. R.M. Asaria Sahab, who was my own boss. He has been attending this. So we welcome you all, including the other distinguished personalities. So we have persons like, the Deputy DG is present here, Deputy DG Education, Deputy DG Animal Science. All of them, sir, are here. The distinguished Vice Chancellors are here. The ADGs are here. I welcome all of you on behalf of the Academy. I also welcome those who are joining online, the members of this prestigious Academy. I also welcome the ones whom we have admitted today, the fellows, the associates, the young scientists. We had also this morning, sir, the Provost Fellows, and we still have today our Foreign Secretary, Dr. Varsaneji. You are here, I think, somewhere. Dr. Varsaneji is here. I welcome all of you. Without taking much time, I would say that we all would look forward to the messages that our chief guest wishes to give us, the I think, highlights that our distinguished speaker, Sri Subramaniam Samiji, would like to have us go through. We'll be looking forward to that. And with this, I welcome all of you, including the press and media and all others who are present. Thank you very much.
On behalf of the Academy and my own personal behalf, it gives me great pleasure to welcome our Foundation Day lecture to be given by Shri B.R. Subramaniam ji. We have our chief guest, Dr. Ramesh Chand. We have a very different past presidents, Dr. R.B. Singh, Professor R.B. Singh, Professor Punjab Singh, Professor Mahapatra, DDGs, former DDGs also are here. Senior faculty staff from ICR. I think we have some guests also, in addition to the esteemed fellowship, press and media. It is my pleasure and privilege to introduce the speaker of the Foundation Day lecture, Shri B.V.R. Subramaniamji. He actually belongs to Andhra Pradesh, and he is from the 1987 IAS batch. And he has had a very distinguished career, and he was Additional Chief Secretary in Chhattisgarh, then became Chief Secretary of Jammu and Kashmir. And I would like to just mention that he was Chief Secretary from 20th June 2018 to May 2021. And that was in August 2019 when the Article 370 was abrogated. So he had a very key role to play. And then he joined the government as Commercial Secretary, Government of India at the center. And then from 1st March 2023, he is the CEO of NITI Aayog. And one of his specializations is conflict management, in particular because he belongs to Chhattisgarh and he spent quite some time there. As you all know that NITI Aayog is one organization which is probably going to take our nation to the US 5 trillion economy and convert India from a developing to a developed nation. So I think as a speaker on the Foundation Day of the Academy, probably we couldn't find a better person who can tell us his views, his experiences, what he expects, particularly as far as agriculture sector is concerned, as far as NITI Aayog at the highest level of the government is concerned. We also have with us Professor Ramesh Chand, one of our very illustrious fellows. To this audience, probably he doesn't need any introduction, but just as customary, it is my privilege to also introduce our chief guest, Professor Ramesh Chand. He has been a member of NITI Aayog since 2015. So as you all know, that is a very well-known nationally, internationally, agriculture economist. And he has been, in fact, he is directly steering India's agriculture development agenda with major focus on food and nutrition security. He's also providing policy-related inputs to the ministries, both of the central and state governments concerning land and water resources, SDGs, poverty alleviation, forest and environment, sustainable livelihood, small rural development, food processing, value chain, and agriculture marketing. As you all know, that it's not only the US 5 trillion economy, India has also started preparing for the Amrit Kal. And I think as NITI Aayog, and particularly the chief CEO of NITI Aayog, they are going to play a very critical role in the Amrit Kal phase that we are now in the process of implementing so that we become a developed nation by 2047. Dr. Ramesh Chand, he was also member of the 15th Finance Commission of India, where, as you all know, that determines the devolution of tax resources between the union government and the states and recommends the fiscal consolidation roadmap. And he's also serving as a vice chairman, Commission of Farmers Prosperity, State of Uttar Pradesh. Since he has been our alumni, our fellow for some time, we all know that he did his BSc and master's degree from Punjab Agriculture, and he's an alumnus of IRI in the campus of which we are meeting today. He has been on the board of trustees of several international organizations and also past on the World Economics Forum, Global Future Council on the future of food security and agriculture. And he has been also visiting professor, University of Wollongong in Australia, and also in Institute of Developing Economics in Japan. So with his huge experience, I don't want to go into details of his other, because he has, over the years, he has got many accolades. And we are really very privileged to have you today as chief guest of our Foundation Day. With this, I once again welcome the fellowship and our Foundation Day speaker and chief guest. And I would request the Shri B.V.R. Subramaniam ji to deliver the Foundation lecture. Sir. I think
member Niti Aayog and my senior colleague in Niti Aayog, Professor Ramesh Chandji, Dr. Pathak, Dr. Pujar Barua, Professor Bansal, Dr. Singh, other distinguished members in the audience. I'm not just pleased, but I'm extremely honored to be with you today. It's an honor to be in front of academics. People have devoted long years of study, gaining excellence as academics, and then contributing as researchers and scholars. And I think I come from a family of school teachers, so we have great regard for the entire profession of people who are academics and teachers. So it's an honor to be standing here and addressing all of you today. And I'm honored that the National Academy of Agricultural Sciences thought that I'm fit to be able to address you all of you today. Firstly, I'll congratulate the National Academy for all it has achieved in the years of its existence. The Academy and the institutions and all of you who are members of it have done yeoman service in doing cutting-edge research, carrying the research to the field, and transforming Indian agriculture over the last 75 years. Where were we in 1947? And I'll come back to that later. And where are we today? It's something we cannot recognize. And I think this is one area where academia, policymakers, government and bureaucrats, and private sector and the farmers have all actually worked very, very successfully to actually transform that sector. I think this is something which most of the science and technology institutions will have to learn, and I compliment all agricultural institutions and scientists for the wonderful work they have done. And I think this is a great starting point. Having said that, I'd like to first talk about which direction our country is headed in, and then try to reflect on what is going to be the role of agriculture when we look at the future. There was a reference a bit earlier about Amrit Kal. What is Amrit Kal? It's India at 2047. India at 2047 will be a 100-year-old young nation. It's also an ancient civilization. But 100 years is a landmark. And in a way, thanks to the leadership of the Prime Minister, the entire government and all states are actually thinking about what do we want to be in 2047. The simple point is, India is at a stage in its economic development where it can transform itself through rapid economic growth. And there is a possibility of changing its trajectory of growth in a manner which is unprecedented, at least as far as this country is concerned. Why is it so? There are many, many plus points as far as India is concerned. A, you are the 5th largest economy today, rapidly moving towards becoming the 3rd largest economy. By some estimates, by 2030, India will be the 3rd largest economy. Could you have conceived of that in 1947? And that the size, the dimension, the scale, I mean, that's something unexpected. 2, the resilience of our country. When we got our independence, great scholars around the world had actually written off India as a nation. People were worried that a couple of years down the road, this country will break up into a large number of small countries. Not only have we stood the test of time as a nation, we have stood the test of time as a successful nation with a functioning democracy, with institutions which are so strong and resilient that they can meet any challenges, be it security challenges, be it economic challenges, or even health challenges like COVID 2 years ago. I think India has proven itself that it is a resilient country because it has resilient institutions. And I think that's very, very important. And all of us, you, me, and everybody else has played a role in this over the last so many years. And it's resilient for a large number of reasons. Its infrastructure has got transformed. It's the roads, the highways, the railways, the airlines, and more than that, the digital infrastructure that is there. It's unbelievable the way it has expanded. The other thing is, I think over the last 75 years and more so in the last 10 years, we are close to licking the problem of basic access. I mean, what are the issues which bother mankind when they are very, very poor? It's about roti, kapda, or makan. Because of the emphasis of the government on access to basic services, be it electricity, be it drinking water, be it gas connection, be it internet, be it mobile phones, be it roads, it is spreading rapidly, and we are within a year or two of achieving 100% coverage and access very, very soon. My generation, when it joined government, and we're talking of 30 years plus ago, 35 years ago, these were the challenges we were looking at. If a civil servant is joining today, the challenge the civil servant faces is not about connecting electricity to every household. It's not about connecting drinking water to every household. It will be about quality and regular supply of electricity. It will be about quality and regular supply of water to every household. The dimensions and the magnitude of the problems are different. They have changed. And having licked the problem of basic access, we should be thinking of the next level. And what is the next level? I think that's the wake-up call. And I think that's what we all need to reflect, including agriculture, which I will come to at the end of what I'm speaking. The other major change, people can say it's good, it can be bad. We are the world's largest country by population. Sometime last month, I think in end April or so, we overtook China. I mean, whenever the censuses come out, or the latest figures officially get published, it will be recognized. But the fact is we have overtaken. So we are the most populous country in the world. But that's not just the relevant point. We are among the youngest countries in the world. And I think that's the most relevant point. For the next 25 years, India will be the supplier of the largest number of youthful working age people in the world. That is something to be recognized. I'll just give one or two data points to emphasize my point. The median age of India is about 29 years. The median age of China is 39 years. Median age of US is 38 years. Think of the demographic advantage that you have. You're 10 years younger, and this population is going to be young for quite some time. We have reached a replacement level in population. I think everybody knows that. We have touched 2.1 TFR, total fertility rate, but there is something called momentum. So, we'll probably stabilize around 150 crores in terms of population. But be that as it may, this large youthful population, when most countries in the world are aging, I mean, there are projections which say that by the end of the century, the population of our big neighbor with whom we have all kinds of stresses, they're going to have a population of 900 million. And we will be somewhere around 1.5 or 1.4 billion. You see, these are issues, and that also will explain why neighbors are creating stress for us. Because as they look into the future, they see the balance tilting in a particular direction. So this is there. It's not only the youthfulness of the population. Countries are searching. You see, what is the sector which is the largest sector in the world, anywhere in all economies? It's the service sector. And service sector is driven not just by capital, but it's actually manpower intensive. Services are delivered by people by and large. If the world is aging, who will provide these services? And I think that's one of the strengths of India. We are going to be a major services powerhouse in the future, irrespective of what happens, because we have the manpower. Our only challenge, of course, is to keep this manpower skilled, educated, and capable. Once you have done that, that manpower will fly. We have also built a strong base. I mean, it's not just a workforce. We have 800 million internet users. We have one of the largest railway and road networks in the world, which is being expanded rapidly. And one of the few countries where consumption drives growth to a very large extent. We are not an economy which is driven by exports. We are driven a lot by consumption. Somewhere between 55 to 60% of our economy is actually driven by consumption. That makes us very, very robust when there are, upsides, headwinds, and tailwinds around the world. And if you look at the size of the economy, it's not just the 3.5 trillion. But 30 years ago, we were about 1% of world GDP. We are more than 3% of world GDP today. So our relative importance in the world has gone up. And that's something. So, I'm laying out the context for agriculture as I come along. So we are becoming increasingly important. But if you look at our population share in the world, 3% is not enough. It'll probably end up with 15 or 20% in a couple of decades. And our importance is getting increasingly recognized in the world. Countries are looking towards India with respect. Our own Prime Minister is received with respect across the world because of our importance now. It cannot be ignored. And it's visible, be it the G20, be it the United Nations, be it the BRICS, be it multiple organizations. India's weight is heavy. We punch well above our weight. And I think people see the future. And it's the future that is there in India which attracts people to India. And we are seen as not only a stable, law-abiding country with the rule of law, with a good judicial system, we are also seen as a country which is a leader in technology and which is a leader in entrepreneurship. After all, everybody has read the news items about India being the unicorn hub of the world or the innovation hub. I mean, we are the third largest number of unicorns in the world. We have the third largest innovation ecosystem in the world. Having said that, this is the opportunity for the nation, for the people of India. And if we grab it, the future is for us to conquer. And the future is, as I'm laying down, something which is very, very huge. What are the kind of stuff which we can actually capitalize on? We can capitalize on the immense amount of digitization that has happened. I mean, it's amazing about the speed with which our entire economy runs on a digital mode. I think most of you are probably using UPI for payments. I was shocked, in between. I was in Visakhapatnam one day on the beach. I was walking early morning, and you buy that dal mudi on the beach. So 10 rupees. So I pulled out 100 rupee note, and that person on the cart actually said, there's a young woman, and probably she's illiterate, said, "Sab, UPI nahi hai kya?" And then you feel, and I didn't have UPI on my phone at that time. So you suddenly realize how much is the penetration in the world. There is an illiterate person who's a street vendor is actually accepting UPI as payment. It's common now. I mean, your sabzi wala, your doodh wala, your newspaper wala, everybody takes payments on UPI. I mean, this is a huge opportunity, and you're a world leader in this. Actually, your payment systems, and I've said that in some other forum elsewhere, is actually a major disruptor. You have completely turned upside down the business model of MasterCard and Visa, where there are huge commissions. Because UPI is cheap, fast, rapid. You don't need these complex systems to do that. The second big thing is our service sector. The service sector, if handled well, can have exponential growth. Exponential is a very, very important word. It's not going to be linear, and it's visible. I mean, Y2K was the first time our IT sector had some opportunity. Everybody remembers that all computers will shut down, all aircrafts will stop flying, all signals will stop moving on that day. But our people capitalized on that, and today our IT sector is booming. But services is not IT. It's no longer about BPOs and coding. India is the world's largest location for what are called global capability centers. Anybody who wants to do R&D locates their R&D now in India. The GCCs are the big word. And as I will go forward, the services sector in India will boom. It will be education services. It will be health services. It will become a center for medical tourism. And you can go across in consultancy. People will, you see the number of Indians who are heading multinationals around the world. I was reading somewhere, 20 big companies headed by Indians account for $5 trillion of market capitalization in the US. So that's the future. So this is going to be there. In manufacturing, there is something else happening. We missed the manufacturing bus of the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And why did we miss that? Because of a set of policy frameworks. We were the proponents of the import substitution industrialization theory, that we will protect our industry among huge barriers. We ended up with what? An ambassador car or a premier Padmini when the whole world was moving ahead. You missed out large-scale manufacturing because of reservation for small-scale sector. The world doesn't want small-scale, they want large-scale. So I think we missed those buses, but currently we are in a sweet spot. And what is the sweet spot? It's this. You have a government which is pushing manufacturing very, very strongly. On the other side, the world is doing what is called friend shoring. They are moving manufacturing from jurisdictions which are not friendly to friendlier locations. You understand what that means? Everybody is having a China +1 policy. There are instructions down the line. If you want semiconductors, let's have a second source. If you want car components, let's have a second source. You want rare metals, lithium, cobalt, let's have another location. Which other country in the world has an opportunity in terms of size and scale to capitalize on this? You'll hear a lot of noise. A lot of the China +1 is going to Vietnam, Indonesia. But Vietnam is getting saturated. They've only got 60, 70 million people. After that, what? India is the destination. It doesn't mean it will come to us naturally. We need to have policy frameworks to do that. That's done. The other is agriculture. That's what all of you are concerned about. I think we have moved past the point where our job was to feed the hungry. I was told by one of my former bosses, the former prime minister, and that's the last time I came to this room when I think I was telling somebody, IFPRI was, IFPRI was launched, and it was launched, if I recollect, from the same room, and 2007 or 8 or whenever that was. And he told me that he used to walk on the streets of Washington, DC, seeking PLO 480 funds and financial assistance. Those were the days when India used to go around the world with a begging bowl. For the last couple of years, we're the largest exporter of agriculture, in particularly rice. We are the dominant exporter of rice in the world. Non-basmati rice, I think 50% is now basically Indian rice around the world markets, and many, many other crops, we are a dominant player. Look at the transformation that has happened in Indian agriculture. However, I have a feeling that given the productivity gaps and the processing inefficiencies that are there in the country, and I'll come to this later again, Indian agriculture has the capacity to feed half the world. I ran into an interesting statistic at one point, and this is nothing to do with my job now or earlier. I was just Googling and looking at data with my son. And then I suddenly saw that the total area under cultivation in India actually is more than the area under cultivation in the United States. You suddenly realize, why is this so? Because, these countries, USA, Canada, China, Brazil, they're 4 times the size of India. Then you realize we have far more intensive agriculture and far more proportion of our land which goes into agriculture. Then you realize, if that is the case, if the US is considered an agricultural powerhouse, or Brazil, or Argentina, or Australia, which have far less agricultural land than India, why can't India be a global agricultural powerhouse? And I'll come to that later. If we have to talk about Amrit Kal, if we have to talk about India at 2047, we will have to talk about India as an agricultural powerhouse. And I think that's one of the tasks. I've had a chat with my senior colleague, Dr. Ramesh Chand. That's what India should be planning for, but we'll come to that later. Apart from that, what's the opportunity? It's a single market. Where in the world can you get a $3 to $5 trillion market without barriers inside? And I think that's one of the strengths of India. And mostly, the biggest advantage India has is we are so far behind in many areas in terms of productivity. We can play the catch-up game and grow for another 20 years, just catching up. And even if you reach the best benchmarks across the world in everything you do, you can keep growing at 8 to 10% for a very long time. I think that's one of the challenges we have. The other big thing and the big opportunity for India is the world is looking at India with interest. I keep saying the world wants India to succeed. That is the best thing. There is no country in the world except some, not so friendly nations. They're all looking up to India and want India to succeed because the rise of India in the world is one of the most benign and stabilizing factors in the world. Be it the United States, be it Europe, be it other parts of the world, be it Africa, be it Middle East, be it Far East, they all want India to rise and become a rich, prosperous nation because it'll actually be good for the world, not just as consumers. Fundamentally, a peace-loving, stable, democratic nation is good for the world, given our size. And I think that's one. Geopolitics are in our favor. And you can see the number of VIPs who are queuing up to drop into Delhi or inviting us elsewhere. And most important, India's development so far and what we can do in future is a role model for the rest of the global South. So Indian developmental experience, agriculture, manufacturing, services is now a model, I think, which can be imitated. Having said that, what will India look like in 2047? Let's try to visualize what it will be. You have about 130 crore people today. We'll probably stabilize around 150 crore. We have a per capita income somewhere between $2,000 to $2,500. We will probably go somewhere near $20,000. And just simple arithmetic, if you multiply, we'll go from a $3.5 trillion economy to somewhere around $30 trillion. $30 trillion is larger than the United States is today. This is something which we cannot visualize. Kalpana nahi kar sakte, ye kaisa desh hoga. It's just unimaginable. Just think about yourselves. Where are we today? Could you have conceived of, when you started your careers, that this will be the nation today? Unthinkable. I mean, Delhi is crisscrossed with metros. People have mobiles in their hand. From the richest to the poorest, everybody has got 4G or 5G. They're communicating. They're having digital transactions. People used to register for a Bajaj scooter when a child was born, or register for a telephone connection when a child was born, because it took 15 to 20 years to get either a scooter or a phone. Does anybody think like that today? Everybody has multiple phone connections. Parking is becoming a problem, because houses 50 years ago were not designed for parking, because people didn't have, cars. They didn't even have scooters. And those days are over. This is the transformation that has happened. A shortage economy has become a surplus economy in many areas. And as a child, I remember going to the ration shop every month to buy sugar, because you got it only in a ration shop at a decent price. You wanted to build a house, you needed a permit to get cement, because that cement was what called levy cement, was cheaper than the market cement. Does any of that exist today? It doesn't. Your children will laugh at you, or grandchildren will even wonder which world are you in when you tell them these stories. The same thing will be there in 2047. The way you live today, the kind of jobs you have, the kind of lifestyles you lead, all of that will be completely different. And that's the India we have to prepare for. We have to prepare to reach that goal and prepare to make that adjustment. And that's why I said, think of the jobs. Do you think most of the current jobs will be there then? You're already hearing about artificial intelligence, chat GPT. A lot of boring jobs with drudgery are probably going to vanish. A lot of businesses will probably get extinguished, or their models will have to change. But technology is a beautiful thing. If it destroys somewhere, it creates something somewhere else. So in fact, last year in 2022, if you follow the stock markets, not in India, abroad, the stock prices of all the 4 major IT companies, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, and Facebook, had collapsed by 50 to 70%. They have all recovered and gone up just because AI got created in between. So there is a new buzz that, okay, AI will be the next mobile phone kind of revolution. So we don't know what 2047 will be like. Take your own case, agriculture. Will it be done in the same way? Will it be labor intensive, or will it be capital intensive? Your tractors today run on petrol and diesel engines. Will they be running on that, or will they be running on hydrogen or on electric batteries? We don't know. But we need to prepare for that, because the future, there is only one thing. The future is certain. 2047 will be here one day, and somebody will be talking here in my shoes on that day here. And it will be a totally different world he will be addressing. So we need to prepare for that. Technology will change dramatically. Artificial intelligence, I mentioned. Renewable energy. Climate change is going to affect every part of our life, and much more so agriculture. We are already talking about climate resilient crops. We are talking of, more drought resistant crops, or crops which can actually face more flooding, all that kind of stuff. Similarly, the way we consume energy, we'll probably move away massively from coal. Our Prime Minister has given his Panchamrit commitment at COP26. You'll be having far less coal, or probably we'll be reducing it to dramatically low levels. By 2030, over 50% of our energy capacity would be renewables. These are commitments you're working on. None of us will probably be driving in a petrol car then, or a diesel car. We'll all be probably driving electric vehicles or something else. We don't know. It'll affect us a lot. And the last and most important thing, And that's something which is very important for agriculture, not scientists alone, but the sector and for bureaucrats like me. India will be a much more global country. A $30 trillion economy cannot be an isolated economy. It will be heavily integrated with the rest of the world. We have grown, for whatever reason, in a very sheltered atmosphere. I don't think we can afford to be, because the world will be dependent on us for their own growth. So everybody will have to have a global outlook. What's happening in India is not only relevant, but what's happening in Pakistan or Sri Lanka or Africa or Europe or America is something we should have our sights on. The world will be even more integrated than it is today. Just as China and US today are integrated with the rest of the world, why are people not able to decouple from China? Because everybody's supply lines go through China. In 2047, everybody's supply lines will go through India. And so you will have to be as concerned. I tell you this, I mean, and this is an agriculture story. My last posting before I came to NITI was as Commerce Secretary. And what was my biggest thing? We were pushing massively for exports. For 10 years, Indian exports were static. They fluctuated between around $300 billion plus minus 10%. 290 to 320. That's it. It's almost like an ECG. So I said, look, and this is in nominal terms. That means in real terms, probably it was falling. So we set a simple goal after 1.5 months analysis. We will go for a 400 billion target, a straight jump. And we were not comparing with the COVID year. We were comparing with the pre-COVID year, which was 310. And said we will aim for 400 billion. End of the year, the department achieved 440 billion. The key is agriculture. In 21-22, we exported $50 billion of agricultural products. Could we have thought of it? And mind you, it's so interesting. When people think of India and what is the kind of agriculture that you export, traditionally, if you ask school children, or even if you had asked me 20 years ago, you'll say tea, coffee, jute, traditional Indian exports. Let me tell you, they are trivial as far as Indian agri exports are concerned. They're trivial. They're all less than $1 billion each. Jute is negligible, 300 million or so. Tea is about 700 million. Coffee is about 800 million. That's it. And what are the big exports? Rice. You had marine products, $7 billion of marine. India is the world's third or fourth largest marine exporter. And that's all coming from aquaculture along the coast. It's very big. Now, given that, and as I said, we were the world's largest supplier of non-basmati rice and basmati rice. And then I ran into a peculiar problem. We were sitting on huge wheat surpluses. And after the Ukraine crisis, wheat prices shot up globally. Huge demand for wheat from India. You're delighted as Commerce Secretary. Indian wheat exports are going through the roof. And you had everybody queuing up for permits, ITC, Cargill, Monsanto, to take Indian wheat around the world. And then suddenly what happened? We were worried about shortages in the country. There was a heat wave last year. I think there was worries about the grain crop being less, and we're running out of shortages. And we also have a free grain program. So to balance all that, the government decided to put restrictions. It banned wheat exports, except for neighbors, Then you suddenly realize the problems with Indian agriculture. Bangladesh depends totally on India for its wheat supply. They don't grow wheat. Nepal depends on India. A lot of friendly countries, the entire Middle East depends on India for wheat. And the reason is simple. Whom are you feeding when you export wheat to Dubai? You're feeding your people there. 90% of the population there is Indian or Pakistani or whatever. So you are actually feeding your people there. And then you suddenly realize, can we keep having this on-off kind of a thing? Maybe in the long run, that's not the way. Indian agriculture needs stable policies, which means we need to expand our production more so that you can feed domestic markets as well as global market. And the other thing which I saw when I was in commerce about agriculture, we are such a major importer of edible oils and pulses. Almost $20 billion of edible oils every year, about $3 to $4 billion of pulses. And every 10 years, we all come up with a new mission for oil seeds. But we don't seem to be cracking the problem. We are still dependent. So I think we need to have a global outlook. And we also can't ignore the fact that if we are going to be a major agricultural exporter in future, we need to understand global sensitivities. Creating a market for agri products outside takes time. If you go on and off very frequently, you lose the markets. India will not be seen as a reliable supplier. Two, why should your farmers suffer because you want to keep prices low? At some point, they also are hardworking. They need benefits for their produce. So I think these are major things. So now let me come to agriculture. What is the prospects for the future? And I'll end in another 10, 12 minutes. Firstly, look at where we have come from independence, from 1947 till now. I mean, it's changed dramatically, as I said in the beginning. I mean, if you take some from shortages, we have moved to surpluses. If you see we are first, second, or third in most major agri products: wheat, rice, pulses, milk. We are the world's largest producer of milk. I mean, it's something which is unthinkable. And if you see the numbers, they're dramatic. Something like 50 million tons of food grains in the 1950s. From 50 million, I think this year they're talking of 330 million plus tons. I mean, where is it? 7 times in terms of output. And pulses have gone from 8 to 28 million tons. Edible oils have gone from, oil seeds have gone from 5 to 40 million. Everything has gone up 6 to 10 times in terms of output. And sugarcane, dramatic, about 55 to about 470 million tons. So this is a dramatic growth. And again, the contribution of your community to that has been phenomenal. But there also lies the challenge that while we have grown, there are issues we need to address. If we have to become a global supplier of food, and when I say food, it is not rice and wheat, it is cereals, other agricultural crops, animal husbandry, fruits and vegetables, and fisheries. You would have to look at agriculture and allied activities. I think all institutions will have to look at this entire domain and spectrum of work. Because I think somewhere around 8-9 years ago, our horticulture output overtook our food grains output. And now it continues with that trend. That is major value addition. You have to look at new ways of actually doing agriculture. Having said that, if you have a role to be a global supplier of food in variety of forms, what are the issues which we need to? I think it has to be far more technology intensive at all levels. What does technology intensive mean? It's not just the technology of growing. It's the whole technology of pre-production to production, to harvesting, to farming, to processing, storage, and finally sale. The whole thing. You're seeing the innovation ecosystem is getting into it. Today, just like you have an Uber or an Ola, there are apps by which you can share your tractor or a weeder or agri implements. In rural areas, in some parts of the country, it's becoming popular. So, technology will permeate all levels. The second thing is, I think research has to become far more dynamic. It is not only about biology or whatever, botany or, plant and plants and crops. It has to go far beyond that into the entire agricultural value chain and see that this finally gets transferred into the real world. I mean, I think all agricultural institutes should open wings which look at the entire agricultural value chain rather than just the crop production part of it. The third thing is the entire agricultural production chain has to be tackled. It's riddled with inefficiencies, be it, inputs, be it your harvesting, be it transport, be it storage, be it processing, or be it marketing. There are inefficiencies at multiple levels. I mean, we have all heard these stories of, rats eat away 1/3 of output. Now, I'm not willing to believe all these figures. These are all wild guesses. But the fact is there is some kernel of truth. And I think we need to move in directions in which we reduce wastage. Now, having said that, the other is you also have to look at agriculture in future. What is it going to look like? The country is going to urbanize a lot. And when the country urbanizes a lot, we're going to have 50-60% people who are urban. You are going to have far fewer people doing farming. So they need to be more productive. They need to have more technology to be able to farm. And agriculture will have to get used to labor shortages. And how do you do agriculture then is something that should be bothering our mind. We'll also have to look at sustainability. Because water is going to be an issue. Climate change is going to be an issue. I think research will have to focus on that. And we have to focus a lot on allied activities. Having said all this, I'm extremely hopeful that institutions like National Academy of Sciences and all the associated institutions who've done wonderful work in the past can continue to do that in future. We have to prepare for multiple transformations. You will be the ones who will be the agents of transformation. We have to have technological transformation. We will have to have organizational transformation. We have to have a transformation of our agricultural markets. They cannot function the way they are functioning today. I've lived in Kashmir, and the inefficiencies in the supply of apples to markets is huge. An average apple farmer, and they produce 80%, 85% of India's apples are in Kashmir, not Himachal, 85%. And they are fabulous varieties. They are sold anywhere between 5 rupees to 35 rupees a kilo. The same thing is sold across the country, anywhere between 150 in Delhi, go to Bangalore, and be 300 rupees a kilo. So we have to improve the efficiencies of these supply chains, etc. We have to change the legal framework under which agriculture is done. But if we tackle all these challenges, I'm confident all of you have the skills, the wherewithal, the intellectual firepower that is there in your institution can enable India to be transformed, Indian agriculture to be transformed, so that we become a global powerhouse in 2047. We will be on a footing where we are compared with US, Brazil, Argentina, Australia, when it comes to food supply in the world. I wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for such an illustrious lecture. May I now invite our Honorable Chief Guest, Professor Ramesh Chand, the Honorable Member of the Niti Aayog.
Speaker of the day and my colleague, Shri BBR Subramanian ji, Dr. Pathak, President, National Academy, Dr. Bujurburua, Vice President, Dr. Lakra, Dr. Bansals. I find that some of the past presidents have shown their loyalty and turned up on the foundation day today. Especially, I want to mention Dr. R.B. Singh ji. He has served and nurtured National Academy for a very, very long period. And also Dr. Punjab Singh, Dr. Trilochan Mahapatra, they are also president of this prestigious academy, fellowship of the academy, other distinguished participants today present in the foundation day. Friends, for me, it is always a great pleasure to come to this campus, NAAS and IRI, for the simple reason that this is my alma mater. I have grown from here. I learned so many things, I think, from most of the faces which are present in this hall. I think I'm not exaggerating if I say that I grew by standing on shoulders of most of you. And it is in this auditorium from lectures by many of you and lecture by speaker like Subramanian ji that I learned to blend science and policy. And that is what turned out to be my, I would say, main attribute, which played important role in reaching the highest policy making body, that is Niti Aayog. I think you will agree with me that in today's world, it is very difficult to find optimistic people who are full of optimism because all around you will find media, you read newspaper full of negativity. I really feel very happy that Subramaniam ji, he looked at positive side of agriculture. He looked at glass half full, not glass half empty. and his understanding and his sensitivity toward agriculture scientists, and toward farmer is really admirable. And in fact, this is what CEO of Niti Yog should be. After all, main job of Niti Yog is to generate hope with the people, to take the country toward prosperity, toward bright future. So I think he has really played a wonderful role as a CEO in generating hope in all of us to take agriculture sector to next stage. I want to congratulate NAAS on its Foundation Day, and also for the recognition that this academy brought to agriculture sciences and also to agriculture scientists. It provides a platform for informed debates which are based on science. And I am also happy that from time to time, this academy has raised its voice against any tendency anywhere which is anti-science, or which could be which is perceived as something which could damage the foundation of food security or foundation of economy. So you have been doing that by organizing debate and also by publishing policy papers and policy brief from time to time. After congratulating academy, I would like to congratulate researchers who have been inducted into the fellowship this year. Since I passed this test, and also I was part of the process of selection of fellow for some of the years, I really know that the process used to be very, very rigorous. And I don't think it diluted over time. I hope it continued to be rigorous, though I'm not in touch in the last 7-8 years. So I sometimes used to say that for a person working in National Agriculture Research System, it is easier to become Deputy Director General or even Vice Chancellor, but it is harder to become Fellow of National Academy. In fact, that used to be the situation, at least when I got the fellowship, got selected as fellow in 2008. I also thirdly want to congratulate two distinguished fellow of this academy. One is Dr. Bakshiram. I'm happy that he's invited to this function. So Ramaniamji, he got recognition as a Padma Shri, and he developed a sugarcane variety. Our agriculture minister, Balyanji, will tell you with pride that it has improved income of farmers in Western UP by 50,000 crore rupees. That one variety which he developed. Secondly, I want to congratulate Dr. Rajiv Varshne. I don't know whether he's still there or he has. Huh? You are there? Okay. So I want to congratulate Dr. G. Varshne for becoming Fellow of Royal Society of United Kingdom. I think in his recognition, he has brought laurel to entire agriculture scientist community of India. And Rajiv, I'm sure that this recognition that Royal Academy has given to you will inspire many young scientists to imitate, to follow the path which has taken you to this level. Rajiv wrote to me that he is probably the 4th agriculture scientist from India to be selected as Fellow of Royal Society, and 3 other Indian agriculture scientists before him are Dr. Pal, Dr. Swaminathan, and Dr. Gurdev Khush. So Rajiv, I observed a pattern that after selection of any Indian as a Fellow of Royal Society, some big thing has happened in Indian agriculture. So after Dr. Pal was recognized, India emerged as a very important player in rose breeding. Before that, India breeding rose because rose was a luxury. We were worried about filling our belly. Who were caring about rose during those days? But recognition of Dr. Pal led to great work in roses, and India became, I would say, world recognized place for development of rose variety in India. Recognition of Dr. Swaminathan was followed by revolution in wheat, and recognition of Dr. Gurdev Khush was followed by a revolution in rice production. And as Subramaniam ji mentioned, that now we are the largest exporter of rice in the world. Not with a small share, more than 40% of total rice is now going from India to the global market. So I hope that tradition will continue. Your recognition will be followed by, at least this is my hope, by some breakthrough in pulses, which India need desperately. And like Subramaniam ji, I am also optimistic that if this can happen in the past three cases, it should be easier to happen in the fourth case also. I also found that during last 1.5 days, Academy has discussed what kind of research, extension, and education should be taken during Amrit Kal. The distinguished speaker has shared with us what is the meaning of Amrit Kal. I will take it a little more toward quantitative terms, and share some of my thoughts what agriculture can do to achieve the goal of Amrit Kal. In quantitative terms, the meaning of the goal which is set for Amrit Kal is to make India a developed country, Viksit Bharat. And all institutions are directed at that. You also discussed in last 2 days. On 27th, Niti Aayog made this presentation of its vision of Viksit Bharat 2047 in the Governing Council meeting, which consisted of Prime Minister, Senior Cabinet Minister, and all the Chief Ministers. So like that, every institution is working in that area. Now, what is the meaning of making India Viksit Bharat? According to World Bank, any country reach the category of Viksit or developed country if its per capita gross national income crosses $13,000. To be precise, they keep changing it year to year. It is 13,200 something per year, or 11 lakh rupee income per person per year. Our present level of income is $2,350 or this is gross national income. This is the concept which World Bank is using. If you look at net national income, that is little lower. So I'm talking of the concept which World Bank is using. So in terms of per capita gross national income, now we are close to rupees 2 lakh. It is 1,93,000. So if we have to become Viksit Bharat, then per capita income need to be increased by 5.6 times. We need to increase it from 1.9 lakh to 11 lakh. So in terms of growth rate of overall economy, it envisages that India would need to grow its economy for next 25 years at the rate of 7.7% per year to become a developed country. But we also know, Subramaniam ji talked about demographic dividends, that you may not have opportunity always even to grow at 3%. Japan, with its best effort, can't grow more than 2%. USA, when they get growth rate of 3%, they celebrate because of this demographic advantage, which is there with India for next 15 years, maximum 20 years. That means next 15 years, our growth rate need to be taken from present average of 6 to 7% to 10%. So that is the kind of challenge in the growth of economy. So what is the role of agriculture in that, and what is the role of agriculture R&D can play in that? I feel that agriculture, without according a due role to agriculture, the dream of Viksit Bharat is never going to be achieved. It's never going to be achieved. There are genuine reasons for it. I'm not saying so because I belong to this family or I'm agriculture economist. I used to criticize also agriculture economics, and you people also. So I'm not one who will say something on false pretext. So I have strong reason. One of the strongest reason is that despite 75 years of independence, share of agriculture in total GDP is still largest. Manufacturing sector, which is expected to grow at a much faster rate than agriculture. In some phases, it grew also faster than agriculture, but still the growth rate was not large enough to make manufacturing bigger than agriculture. So when agriculture right now is accounting for 18%, if this 18% doesn't grow at 4%, then I have done some calculation. After some time, a paper from NITI Aayog will be coming. So you will just find that if this support of 0.72% growth in total doesn't come from agriculture, then having the growth rate which is needed for Viksit Bharat, it become almost impossible. It become impossible because I express openly my disappointment with the manufacturing sector, that when an economy grows, economists tell us that first agriculture grows, then manufacturing grows, then service grows. Whatever prosperity India achieved in last 25 years, particularly after 1991, only small part of it came from manufacturing. Large part of it came from services sector. And this can't make any country a Viksit country. For becoming Viksit, manufacturing has to play a big role. Now, manufacturing consists of so many things. It consists of automobile, it consists of steel, so many things, but a large part of it is also agri-food manufacturing. So I feel it is that component, agri-food manufacturing, through which agriculture can demonstrate that, look, do not look at our role as a passive role when you are making India a Viksit Bharat. We can play active role, and without our active role, this thing will not be possible. The second reason for this is that globally, some changes are happening in demand. I said it on a couple of times here also, that people preference are moving toward bios. People are fed up with synthetic. They look at all kind of product, whether it is medicine, whether it is cosmetic, that come from produce of nature, that come from crops, biomass kind of things. So one day I took my vision to extreme, that my vision of agriculture is when everything except those things which require mineral and metal is produced out of farm. Just think about it, what I am saying. It has a deep meaning, that everything that human being is using, except those things which require mineral and matter, is produced at farm, and then farm become factory, and then you just find that it is a different kind of development which happens. But world is already thinking, not going to this much extreme, this I have gone, but some talking about some challenge of manufacturing-led growth. By manufacturing may not achieve the dream of developing country. So far, the criticism of manufacturing sector come from the fact that manufacturing is not offering jobs. So because of that, people are criticizing manufacturing. But in India, we have more reason to criticize manufacturing. One is that it is not offering jobs. It is going for labor saving technologies. Therefore, we have to find a decent job for people in and around agriculture. And second is that manufacturing in India is not growing the way it should have grown when economy moved from a particular stage in 91 to a higher stage of growth. You just find that neither the growth of manufacturing is high nor it is smooth. If 1 year it has grown by 7%, next year it dipped to 3%. So this year figure has depressed everyone, 22, 23, only 1.3% growth rate, which is, I think, very, very low. So if next year it is 8%, the average of 2 years will be only 4.5%, not very far from what we are achieving in agriculture. So these are a couple of reasons because of which I feel that we have to look at agriculture and we need to look at agriculture differently. And maybe we start our business about agriculture in a different way, that agriculture can give 4% growth rate. Agriculture can give a big push to agri-food manufacturing, and agriculture can also offer decent jobs. And today biggest problem of the country, by the way, is unemployment. Many people don't agree, but I see it whenever I visit my village or any other place. The most serious concern of every household is whether their children in whatever they are doing will get employment or not. So because of these reasons, I think agriculture is important, but for agriculture to play this role, agriculture also has to address some challenges. I would only list briefly because today I have only 15 minutes. Maybe some other time I will elaborate by giving facts and figures. So one is that if we want agri-food waste manufacturing to grow at a rapid rate, we must produce agriculture raw material at a competitive rate. If we are not producing agriculture raw material at a competitive rate, then agri-food manufacturing will not grow. Even if it grow, we know that if we have to become a developed country, nearly half of our total production must be sold outside India. So we must be competitive. We have to be competitive. Like I mentioned about variety developed by Bakshi Ramji. So you just see that variety was so high yielding. He did his job in terms of raising productivity potential, but the average cost of production of sugarcane doesn't decline. Because of that, we were big surplus in sugar last 3 years, except this year, before that 3 years, but we were not knowing what to do with that surplus. And we generated that surplus by offering price to the farmer, which was much higher than international price. International price of sugar, if you leave this year, was only 23, 24 rupee. And we were paying to the price for the cost, which generated sugarcane at 28 to 30 rupees. So if we are not able to give raw material at a price which is competitive, then we cannot give big push to manufacturing that is based on agri-food. This cost effectiveness is important otherwise also, and that is one of the reasons ruling any political party may not admit it openly. But today, when you talk of agriculture, right, finance ministry and many other ministry, their fear is agriculture ko itna paisa ja raha hai, aayega kahan se? This is a genuine concern. I have seen it, but this is a genuine concern. From 2005 onward, if you look at data before 2005, agriculture prices relative to non-agriculture were moving in a cyclical way. Sometime manufacturing was rising faster, agriculture slower. Sometime agriculture was rising faster and manufacturing was rising slower. But after 2005, for 17 continuous years, agriculture prices relative to non-agriculture have been only rising, and the rate of rise is 50% faster than what is the rate of rise in non-agriculture prices. The simple measure of this is, I don't know, Dr. Joshi ke alawa koi aur economist hai baithe ki nahi. If you look at terms of trade between agriculture and non-agriculture, which is a ratio of price index of agriculture and non-agriculture, hamare state wale bhi, Dr. Prasad also understand these things. The terms of trade between agriculture and non-agriculture in 2005 were 85 if we take base of 11-12. Today it is 126, an increase of 50-60%. Now this has very, very serious implication, very, very serious implication. One is that you can have a surplus, but you can't export it. You can have a surplus, you can't dispose it. It will keep accumulating in your bare houses. The third implication of this is, again, this is a disturbing statistic. In the turn of century, 20% of hungry population of the world was in India. So India's share, because India is a big country, even otherwise our share in global population is 17%. So India's share in the total hungry people, according to FAO, in 2001 was 20%. After that, throughout, except one small cycle when we started this Food Security Act and started giving ration, only for 4 years that decline happened. But if I forget about the cyclical period in between, today it is 30%. From 20% share in Hungary, we have reached 30%, which means the rate of increase in hungry people in India is much faster than what is in the rest of the world, despite the fact that rate of growth of food in India is faster than the rest of the world. So if you start thinking deeper about it, you will just find that food has been becoming so costly in India that buying healthy food is going out of purchasing power of common people. I tried to confirm this thing, and I got a study from another fellow of this academy, Dr. Prabhu Pingali, who is in Cornell, heading the Tata Cornell chair. So he has a very good paper. He proved 60% rural people in India can't afford healthy diets. If they have to buy healthy diets, they have to double the current expenditure on food. So I think this is again very important factor that growing food growth is one aspect, but that growth should not be very, very costly. Partly it is made costly by price distortion. Politicians want to get vote of the farmers. If market price of rice was, I'm talking of rice price, market price of rice was 28 rupee 2 years back, a state give to farmers 35 rupee per kg, ignoring what we will do. And now they are asking, allow us to make use of this rice as a biofuel. So, so one part is distortion. Another part is that in our desire to increase yield, we have paid less attention to reducing cost of production. Today, I think that is the most important aspect. Even if we make small compromise on lower increase in yield, but we are able to lower the cost of production. That is something very, very desirable. Otherwise, we will not be able to address health issue. We will not be able to dispose of a surplus, and we will not be able to address big fiscal burden that is associated with that kind of production, and so many other kind of associated things. I think that should be possible. The way technologies about which Subramaniam ji also talks are coming in the other sectors. You look at cost in many other sectors, especially those sectors which are related to technology. Over time, average cost of per unit production is coming down. Even if you take car, you take refrigerator, you take washing machine, anything, over time, in real term, because of new kind of technologies coming there, real cost is declining. But in case of agri-food, that real cost is not declining. So we have to think of those kind of technologies which can reduce that cost. I don't say 100% increase is because of increase in cost of production. It is half is in the supply chain, roughly half is in the production process. So supply chain doesn't come under you, that is being handled in a different way. Creation of Ministry of Cooperative is an attempt in that direction. It is not just that suddenly we thought of Ministry of Cooperation. We find that private trade of this country don't lose any opportunity to exploit consumer unless we have an alternative way through public sector. I'm member of committee of ministry which monitor prices of sensitive commodities. And very often we come to know that, okay, so much growth is happening, why this price is not coming down? Then some internal data collection, etc. It will present evidence that how cartels are created, how collusion is created, how market is being exploited. So that's why this Ministry of Cooperative, whose scope, Subramaniam ji know that last 6 months, how many cabinet note have come to support this ministry to expand their activity. Cooperative will not only be giving credit, it will be buying produce of farmer, it will be selling produce within the village, it will be exporting, it will be processing. So those are the kind of things, because earlier there was the impression that when market is developing, when capitalism is developing, role for parastatal cooperative diminishes. To set this impression right, I published a paper with the FAO ka Konda Reddy ke saath, in Times of India, that in the advanced capitalist economy, like Japan, like Netherlands, Denmark, cooperative play a very, very important role. So just we should not be swayed by power of market. Ki ab to market aa gaya, we don't have to make producers organization. So that is second part of increase in cost of delivery of the food, that we need to work on both the legs, reducing cost of production and also reducing cost of supply. Only then Aam Aadmi will be able to buy healthy food. So not reducing price that we are paying to farmers, but cutting the cost or cutting the supply chain so that it becomes affordable. I think if that thing is included in the research agenda, that is something which is needed during Amrit Kal, and I'm sure that you will pay serious attention to it. I also feel concerned about funding. I am especially picking up this issue to share with Subramaniam ji that so far there is a lone voice to seek more fund for agriculture. But I hope in future we will have two voices from Niti Aayog to support this funding. We need to create new windows for them. ICR played very important role in aspiration district program, about which our Prime Minister talked so much, but we did not pay even 1 rupee to ICR for doing this. I think under aspiration block program, Niti is getting some funding. So please keep that in mind, that under aspiration block program, we are able to give them at least half of what is due to them. So that is one way. Even in Ministry of Agriculture, I always tell Secretary Agriculture that you give funding to other, you paid so much to ICRISAT to develop pulse varieties for you, why you are not paying to ICR? In fact, we have now started a mechanism, Himanshu ji knows about it, he's part of it, that selecting the crop and then making a discussion. My idea is to make a case to get more funding, even from Department of Agriculture and Farmer Welfare for research purpose. So overall, I find that there seems to be slight change in this thinking that agriculture R&D deserves better treatment. I should also be hopeful in the company of my CEO Niti Aayog. And I hope that this thinking will get translated into some action, and some constraint from funding will be relaxed. So thank you very much for giving me this honor of coming here as a one of the participants, and to see all your faces, even if I'm not able to interact with many of you, but I tell you that seeing your face means a lot for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for motivating us further through your own fellowship here of the Academy. May I now request our Honorable President, Dr. Himanshu Pathak, to kindly felicitate the guests, our Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. Professor Ramesh Chand, and our Foundation Day speaker, Sri Subramaniam ji. May I request you to kindly felicitate them. And I invite you, sir, for giving your chairman's remarks.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bansal, Dr. Ramesh Chand ji, Member Niti Aayog, Sri Subramaniam ji, CEO Niti Aayog, Vice President of the Academy, Secretaries of the Academy, distinguished former presidents of this esteemed Academy, distinguished fellowship, students, faculty members of IARI, ladies and gentlemen. Sir, yesterday we started our deliberation on this particular topic only, developing the roadmap for research, education, and extension in agriculture for a developed Bharat 2047 Amrit Kal. And now I could see, after these two deliberations, that discussion has become complete. Without these two deliberations, probably our discussion was not complete. So thank you very much, both of you, Honorable Speaker of the Day, and of course, Ramesh Chand ji, for giving the overall understanding, philosophy, realities, and of course, the challenges of transforming this great country into a Vikshit Bharat, a developed nation. Of course, Subramaniam ji showed us the dreams, which are also reality. And I shall give you one or two examples, very easy examples, where we will be able to appreciate that this is possible. Now we have got around 140 million hectares of land, which we cultivate. And this year, our food grain production, 330 million tons, little bit more than that one. But if we assume that the per hectare productivity of rice and wheat, if we take simply 5 tons per hectare, which is not a very big thing. Many of our farmers are even harvesting 8 tons per hectare rice, even 9 tons per hectare rice. So if we take 5 tons per hectare rice, and again 5, just for simplicity of the calculation, 5 tons per hectare of wheat, so 10 tons per hectare per year. So then with this 140 million hectares, we will be able to produce 1,400 million tons. Now, the current area under rice and wheat, rice has got around 43 something, and wheat has got around 30. So even say, let's say 70 million hectares. 70 million hectares, 10 million tons, say 10 tons per hectare, the total production goes 700 million tons. We have got only 330 million tons. That means there is possibility. This large yield gap between this potential yield and the actual yield, if we can narrow it down, even by 40 to 50%, much of these things can be achieved. And what the Speaker of the Day said very rightly, that for that, we really have to change the direction of our agriculture. Now the buzzword should not be total production, but it should be productivity, yield. It should be efficiency. It should be resilience. It should be profitability. And in those directions, agriculture research, education, and extension should be focusing on. About the contribution of ICAR, and of course, agriculture research, education, and extension in this country, I think all of us are very much thankful, and we appreciate for the genuine appreciation with both the speakers of the day bestowed over all of us today, that Indian agriculture has achieved tremendously, and the contribution of research has been the main engine for that. I'll just tell you one incident, just maybe 2 months back. I was visiting one school, and one girl of class 6, probably she could summarize the whole contribution of ICR. She wrote on the entry of that school that Bharatiya Krishi ke Aadhar, ICAR. Bharatiya Krishi ke Aadhar, ICAR. I think there cannot be better expression than this small school girl who could summarize what is the contribution of ICAR. What we could achieve in last 75 years, again, the challenges were even much larger. Nobody in the world could believe that India will be able to achieve this, but we have achieved. Similarly, in the next 25 years or so, I'm confident that we will be able to achieve the dreams or the goals or the targets and the objectives which have been fixed by Government of India for a developed Bharat. I think now the challenges are for the scientists to deliver. We have delivered in the past. We are now delivering, and of course, we have to deliver even much better way in the future also. And as I said, there is potential. But in addition to that, we have got the technologies now. So we are not going to do something out of nothing. So many usable potential technologies are available, starting from genome editing to precision agriculture to AI and all kinds of, all those tools are now a part of agriculture research, a part of agriculture education and extension. If we can really utilize those tools and technologies, I am sure the efficiency can be improved, productivity can be increased, profitability can be enhanced, and of course, what the target we are fixing for ourselves, we'll be able to achieve those. And for that, academy being the think tank, we will be certainly looking forward. ICR and whole NAAS system, National Agriculture Research and Education System, will be looking forward for the inputs from this prestigious academy. As Dr. Ramesh Chandra very rightly said, all the who's who of Indian agriculture are here. All the persons who have contributed for development of Indian agriculture are here. And we are honored and lucky that in all the occasions, we get your inputs, we get your guidance, we get your suggestions. I think academy needs to again reorient its activities towards these targets. In spite of those challenges, how best we'll be able to achieve those to make the reality of Amrit Bharat, developed nation. With this, once again, I thank Subramji for such a splendid and mesmerizing lecture. with all these facts and figures, raising the hopes of developed India, and also giving us the direction of in which way agriculture research, education, and extension of this country should go. And of course, Dr. Ramesh Chandji, as always, very, very supportive, at times critical, which is also very much required. Without that, probably we may falter our ways. Extremely useful guidance which we received from him. And at the end, earlier, as Dr. Ramesh Chandji said, that in the Niti Aayog, we had one person to support agriculture research and education. And now, not only two, but the CEO himself is the supporter of Indian agriculture research, education, and extension. So that means there is no way that we will not be receiving this. Thank you very much, both of you, and thank all of you, all these esteemed fellowship of this prestigious academy for your presence to make this particular function, Foundation Day lecture, a great success. Thank you all. Jai Hind.
Sir. Dignitaries on the dais, Honorable Chief Guest of today's function, Professor Ramesh Chand, the Honorable Member of the Niti Aayog, CEO Niti Aayog, Honorable Shri B.R. Subramaniamji, President of the Academy, Dr. Himanshu Pathak, Vice Presidents, Dr. Anil Singh, Dr. Bajra Barua, and Secretary, Dr. W.S. Lakra, dignitaries of the dais, very senior fellowships, past presidents, immediate past president, Dr. Mahapatra, Professor R.B. Singh, Professor Punjab Singh, and all esteemed fellows, friends, ladies and gentlemen, media. It's an honor for me to propose this formal vote of thanks. And with great pleasure, on behalf of the Academy, I profusely thank and acknowledge Professor Ramesh Chand, the Honorable Chief Guest, for readily agreeing to gracing the occasion of this particular Foundation Day lecture series of the National Academy of Agricultural Sciences during this 30th annual general meeting of the Academy. We are very much honored to have you, sir, as our chief guest. More of us, we all know you are more of a friend to all of us. You always appreciate excellence, and we draw pleasure out of it listening to you time and again. So thank you very much, sir, for making it happen once again in this very hall for all the agricultural fraternity and friends. I'm equally indebted and very much thankful to the Honorable CEO of Niti Aayog, who again readily agreed to deliver this particular Foundation Day lecture. And it was such a great lecture, sir. We were so much motivated. And you brought again an appreciation for all the agricultural scientists, the fraternity, and reminded us through agricultural scientists, through this National Academy, that India could be a power hub for agriculture and the food systems to be transformed globally. We are very thankful to you, sir, for sparing your very valuable time. I know how busy you were. I was, in fact, following you through, and I think there was not a single moment that I could come and see you personally. Nevertheless, again, sir, we are very thankful to you for sparing your valuable time. I'm also, of course, in the same breath, I would like to thank Dr. Neelam Patel, who is again from Niti Aayog, the senior advisor looking after agriculture and the light sector. Thankful to you also, Dr. Neelam Patel. And of course, our own president, Dr. Himanshu Pathak. I'm very thankful to you, sir, for guiding the whole team, for changing the kind of way of life we have at the Academy, for giving us a new vision and increasing to a newer heights. We're all very much thankful to you always. You are a noted scientist yourself. We look forward to your more guidance and thanks to you for it. And of course, I thank our Vice President, Secretary, Dr. Lakra. And also, I'm very thankful to all the senior fellowship, those who are present today. Particularly again, Professor R.B. Singh, Dr. Punjab Singh, Dr. Mahapatra, and all of you, those who are here. I can see Dr. P.L. Gautam, I can see Dr. Samra, and also Dr. Ashok Singh, the Director, IRI, the person, sir, we were talking about Basmati export. It is Dr. Ashok Singh, Dr. T.R. Sharma, Dr. Bakshi Ram, Professor Rajiv Warshne, Dr. V. Prakash, Dr. D.K. Yadav, and all of you, I'm very thankful to you, friends, for making this happen and making this particular program a grand success. I'm also very thankful to the newly elected fellows. All of them, I'm very thankful that they were present, all the foreign and Pravasi fellows. And also I just see Dr. Vibha Dhawan, the Director General of TERI, joining us briefly, and I'm thankful to her as well. So thanks to all the distinguished fellowship of the Academy for coming in large numbers and exciting moments. We look into it for your presence, for in fact, looking the way forward, through your guidance. And with regard to the program, we were able to organize her in these last 2 days, June 4 and June 5. We had some wonderful panel discussions yesterday. We had today our annual general body meeting in the forenoon, followed by, we are terminating our, this particular program with the Foundation Day celebrations, as we are talking about today. So in fact, very many people were associated with the whole program, right from June 4 and 5. And particularly, I'm very happy to announce as well that this program is being live streamed through YouTube. And also many of our friends have joined through Zoom link. All the vice chancellors of various agriculture universities in the country, more than 100 institutions of the ICAR, and all students, faculty members were invited to witness this particular program. So I'm in fact thankful for this to Dr. Anil Rai from the ADG from ICAR for helping us through. And I'm very thankful to all the conveners, the panelists, for the 2 panels, which Dr. Himanshu Pathak also mentioned about it, in even preparing a roadmap for the Amrit Call, and empowering our SAUs for emerging challenges and issues. And I'm very thankful to all the, both the speakers who gave yesterday evening special lectures, who were our foreign fellows and Pravasi fellows, Dr. William Dar, the former Director General of ICRISAT, and Dr. Kohli from DDG from IRRI, and Professor Rajiv Warshne. Thanks to him for moderating it. And of course, I'm again thankful to all the guests who were felicitated. So we were able to felicitate in this particular AGM for the first time our noted NAAS fellows who were awardees or Padma Shri awardees, the noted farmers, the noted industries personalities, the noted media personalities, and all other scientists who are getting the national and international awards. So once again, I thank you all, but nevertheless, I would like to further, in fact, take a minute more to thank all our staff who are working behind the scene. And those are like, Ms. Meenu, Ms. Krishna, Jai Singh, Chitesh, Banwari, Shiv, Kamal, and our newly appointed ED, Ms. Diksha Gupta and Ms. Rashmi Singh. I thank all of them also for contributing so significantly, working hard for this particular program for the last 2 or even more days, as we've been spending time to preparing our best possible ways we could do it. So with this, I once again thank you all, and thanks again to the dignitaries on the dais for making this grand success for all of us. A wonderful AGM for all this thing. Thank you all. Thank you very much. And a pleasure inviting you all for a cup of tea in the basement. All of you are invited, please.